Ladies and gentlemen, time to call this meeting to order. I apologize for the lateness of the hour. It is June the 6th, 2018, and the time is, we'll call it 10 minutes after 6. Welcome here. We just got out of a work session. I've asked Rajan Zed to do the prayer today. He's the president of the Universal Society of Hinduism, and he has requested that we have a picture with the council before he does the prayer, so we'll go to that point and then have him do the prayer, and Dave Tucker will do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Did you take two?
I took 4.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, President, go ahead.
It is an honor for our community when the prayers from ancient Sanskrit scriptures are being read in this great hall of democracy of the great city of Payson. Starting with Gayatri Mantra, considered the most sacred mantra in Hinduism, I shall be reading from the ancient Hindu scriptures, Rig Veda, Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita, some as old as around 1500 before the Common Era. After reading in Sanskrit, I shall then interpret in English. Can we all rise, please? Om Bhurvubah Swah Tat Savitarvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. We meditate on the transcendental glory of the Deity Supreme, who is inside the heart of the earth, inside the life of the sky, and inside the soul of the heaven. May He stimulate and illuminate our minds. Astoma Sadgamya, Tamsoma Jyotirgamya, Mrityur Mamratam Gamya. Lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, lead us from death to immortality. Tasmada Sakta Statam Karyam Karma Samachara, Sakto Hyacharan Karma, Parma Panoti Purusha, Karma Nevahi Samsiddhi, Masita Jankadya, Loka Sangreha Mevapi, Sampa Shankar Tumrahasi. Strive constantly to serve the welfare of the world by devotion to selfless. One attains the supreme goal of life. Do your work with the welfare of others always in mind. Saha Navavatu, Saha no Banaktu, Saha Viryan Karva Bahai, Tejasvi Navadita Mastu, Ma Vidvisa Bahai. May we be protected together, may we be nourished together, may we work together with great vigor, may our study be enlightening, may no obstacle arise between us. Samniva Akuti, Samna Hidyaniva, Samna Mastu Wo Mano, Yathava Susahasti. United your resolve, united your hearts, may your spirits be at one, that you may long together dwell in unity and concord. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Om. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you.
The audience, please rise. Repeat the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dave. Once again, thank you, Rajan. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and open the consent agenda, approval of the May 16th, 2018 council minutes, and approval of the May 30th, 2018 work session minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And the work session? And the work session, is that what you?
The consent agenda.
Okay, that includes everything. Okay. There has been a motion, is that right? And have we seconded it?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll go to the petitions, D, the public forum. Anyone can speak on items that are not on the agenda. Time limit is 3 minutes. And we'll see if anyone in the public would like to come and talk about an issue. Okay, seeing that there's no one who would like to come up, we'll go to staff reports.
Hey, City Council members, public. Give you our totals for the month of May. We had 83 arrests, 158 offenses, 138 citations. It resulted in 180 violations. We had 1,077 calls for service, 5 DUI arrests, 264 traffic stops, and 27 traffic accidents. Only other thing I got is our bike rodeo will be on June 23rd down here, just here in the front of the city office here. So if you would like to come, that'd be great. That's all I have, unless you guys have.
What time is that?
I think it starts at 9, from 9 to 11.
You don't have to ride a horse.
You have to bring your own, yeah.
No, if you don't want to.
Just come watch.
Just put it on your shoulder and walk around with it.
You're gonna cycle.
We'll find you one, Linda, if you
No,
want.
I got one.
We get a recumbent bike, a jazzy cycle.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Quit picking on me.
Mayor and Council, I want to give you a couple updates. I had a meeting today with the Nebo, well, it's kind of with the Nebo Water, but it's a few of us that are members of it. We're protesting that the LES Church is trying to transfer 10,000 acre feet of water down in this area, and all the cities have protested it to try to fight it. And in the next couple of weeks, they're going to set up a meeting, and we'll request either the mayor and a council member or 2 council members to attend with Dave and me to see how hard we want to protest it, because if we push too hard, it'll shut down all water transfers in the area until a groundwater management plan is set up. So that would mean all development would be halted. So we want to make sure all the cities are on board on how hard we want to do this, so that we're not obviously stopping development, and find out our options. So we've already hired an attorney to help us with this, and that kind of came out of the meeting. So I just want to give you an update that is in the works. So we have already protested the water rights, but we're trying to figure out if we should do it even, harder than we already have, or what we're doing. So.
And are they trying to move the water to Goshen Valley area?
That's the overall long-term plan, yes, but right now it's just to move it down in this area, and the plan is that, the city's gonna rent it or whatever, but, like we brought up, it becomes a challenge once you start using it. As a city, how do you stop using it once they want to transfer it somewhere else? So there's a lot of issues with it.
Where are they transferring it from?
David Wells, aren't they?
Well, they're transferring it from surface rights to groundwater rights is what the proposal is.
North
and it's
Utah
from,
County.
North Utah County? Okay.
So I just want to give you a quick update so that when you get a request, go to a meeting, one or 2 of you, that it wasn't a blind side. And then
I'm familiar with the whole situation, so just let me know when and I'll be there.
okay, awesome. And then the mayor and Dave and I had a meeting today with Springville, Spanish Fork, Salem, and us, with the state of Utah and the Department of Water Quality on the regional sewer plant option. Kind of got resurrected with a new director at the state level. So it sounds like the Spanish Fork and Springville are gonna look at trying to regionalize up there maybe, but it's about 12 to 15 miles for us to get there from here, so the cost would probably be, 60, 70 million, just taking a guess, so we're not really super interested, and Salem's not interested in doing it, so.
Was she willing to pony up and pay for some of that, or
Zero.
She's
We
gonna
can get a
make us-
loan.
She's gonna make us do it and make us
No,
pay
they
for
can't
it.
make us do it, but,
So it's easy to be on board if you're not gonna
Yeah.
bring anything to the game.
so the only thing they would bring to the table would be an extension to give us some time, but then that comes with the handcuff of, we would have to take chemical completely off the table and only do a biological treatment, which if that didn't work out, then we're kind of stuck. So we're looking at some options, but it looks like we're kind of waiting on Salem's answer to if they want an extension. They just actually bid their treatment plant out. It opened today and yesterday. So they're kind of really moving down the line to start building that. So I don't know. We're a little late in the game to talk about regionalization, but we did. So we just wanted to give you an update. So.
Except we're not late because we talked about it 2 years ago, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah. We've had studies done on it. It's not like it's
They
brand
kind
new.
of drug
but-
their feet.
Yeah.
Salem drug their feet.
But
Now-
it's a tough sell to ask your residents to pay an extra $20-30 million.
Right. I just-
to go
I
regional.
mean, we're not that far.
I'm just pointing out that we tried to work with Salem early on. So anybody who's here listening, Payson tried to work with them a long time
And
ago.
we talked the same, it depends on what the state will come back with as far as how many years extension for them. But even with a 5-year
It was
extension-
expensive.
Even with a 5-year extension, it still may not work for them, but I think we talked that we would look again to see if there's a place we could locate with Salem. For Salem, at least their engineer said it doesn't make a difference for us. We're in, our skin is $20 million. But us, we would have to walk away from our current investment and build a brand new one. So our investment's gonna be a lot bigger than Salem.
Yeah.
It's just if we wanna do that, I don't think the state's gonna give us any money.
Going back, we're not late, it's just late in the game to be talking about it, right?
Yeah, just because of where Salem is already at, and
Yeah.
especially in their process. So. But those are the two good news I had for you guys.
Thanks, Travis.
I'd like to go more in depth with that sometime if you get a minute.
Yeah, anytime. Just let me know.
I want to provide an update to the mayor and city council and to the public about our general plan update. So we are preparing a strategic plan for Payson City. We're updating our general plan and we're updating our utility master plans. So we've been working with the consultant team, putting together a steering committee. We've been gearing up for the first public workshop. And so those are going to be held just for your benefit. And I have copies of these if anyone wants them. We'll also be posting on our website, on Facebook, and trying to get the information out and with every outlet available. We're updating the plan, looking at the growth in Payson for 30 years. So we're looking very visionary, but also looking at short-term solutions to growth in our community. There will be 2 workshops. It will be the same information that is provided at both workshops, but we want to have one in the middle of the day for those that works better during daytime hours, and then we will have an evening one. So the first one will be on Wednesday, June 27th from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon here at the Payson City Council chambers. And so there's one available, and then the evening one will be held on Thursday, June 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. in the banquet hall. And so we will have the team of consultants here. They have a lot of activities and some instant polling and maps and a lot of different things in order to try to get the community engaged with this activity and to find out what the community wants to see for Payson as we grow in the future. So anyway, I will leave these on the desk here if anybody wants them. And then, did you want one?
I want one.
Anyway, so, and then I will email that to everybody. So then you can email that to family and friends and to your different networks, just so we can get the information out. So any questions for me?
Where was the Wednesday one at? Is that the banquet hall as well?
It's in this, no, it's here in the
In
council
council
chambers.
chambers, okay.
Yep. Yeah, we had to work with the senior citizens with their activities, and so we will have that one in this room.
Thanks, Joe.
Just a quick update, Mayor and Council. You had, Garrett Elmer came in a few council meetings ago, still interested in purchasing that property in the canyon. my concern was that we make sure we have access up to 4-bay if we need to, if we ever sell it or issues like that. So I took Doug up. Doug has been a little bit vocal about that. So Doug and I and Travis went up to look at that property. I don't think we have any reservations at all of selling from the road west. And Garrett's interested in that. So I think at this time we'll probably pursue that and keep that. If it ends up that we don't need that, at a later time we could sell the rest of it to him. The previous council, what we told him we'd sell it for what we purchased it for is $9,000 an acre. And so we'll try to work something up that he can take the west side. And then later, if we end up not needing that for access or anything like that, then we could look at that at another time. So just to give you an update of where we are with you on that.
Thanks, Dave.
Mayor and councilors, a couple things to update you. The open burn is now officially closed, so thank goodness. Get tired of all the complaints. Although agricultural and horticultural can still burn, so prunings, ditch banks, fence lines, things like that. So we have to do a little bit of that in those areas, but for the residential, it's over with. So we encourage them to take it to the green waste. Also, just if you're interested, you may have had comments the last few Tuesdays we've been doing hose testing, which we're required to do annually, which is really fun. You get to take all the hose off the vehicles, pressure test them, drain them, put them back on. So we have probably one more event. If you're interested to come play, we'll love to have you. More hands the better, right? You get wet and dirty, but it's fun. Also, just so you know, we did participate with the, as you know, the wildland season started early. They're predicting it's going to be at least like the 2012 year where we had a couple of big events around the state. Moisture content's way down. But we did participate with the one out there around Cherry Hill, McMullen's, out there at the Gap by Kigley Quarry. So, kind of good kickoff to the fire season. So, yes, ma'am.
Where did you go last week? I pulled over in 2 fire trucks and a city ambulance, and you got on the freeway.
We've had a few car wrecks
Is that
on
what
the
it
freeway,
was?
yeah.
We couldn't see any traffic
Yeah.
backup or anything.
There were a couple of them down by Benjamin Exit, and then we had one that was further north that we continue on to assist until Spanish Fork gets there.
Oh,
So we'll go down through that area. So yeah, so unfortunately we've had lots of calls like that. We did go up to Payson Lakes last week on a medical, so we're starting to go now that the season's begun up the canyon, so we get up there quite a bit as well. So fun times, but we appreciate all your support, and hopefully it's a quiet season. Hopefully we get more moisture. If not, it's going to be a busy season.
I was going to say, what's the firework outlook? Asking for a friend.
Ban it through the whole city, and now we can do that without legal problems. But no, I think we can still restrict. In my opinion, we can restrict where we have in the last few years and still be fine. Just most of the foothill areas, up along P Mountain, anything but Highland Canal. Yep. Yeah. Although it'll be a shorter season for lighting them off.
Right.
Yep. Those darn aerials, everybody gets tired of hearing them all. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Mayor and council and public, a couple of things in the recreation world. We had a good meeting this week with Tour of Utah. If the public is unaware, the bike race is coming through town August 8th, and we're excited to have them come through again. There's still some things to button up, but they did announce the race course today. So if you want to look at their webpage, and you can see the route as we start and finish in Payson this year. As you know, we opened the pool Memorial Weekend, and we've been pretty busy this week. Monday being a very hot day was very busy. Probably one of the busiest days we've had since we've opened. I think they said the line was an hour and 20 minutes with the 2 cash registers open, people coming in to get in, so it was quite busy. We did start our swim team this week as well. We have about 180 kids on the swim team, and And then we started all of our first session of swim lessons as well this week, so that was busy and good to go. We also started youth tennis on Tuesday morning, so that gave us something to be busy with Tuesday morning rather than Monday morning. And then next week we'll start our summer gymnastics program.
What time? Do you have the early morning exercise?
Yes, we do.
What time? How early?
We have a 7 o'clock exercise class if you would like to do aerobics. We also have lap swim from 6 to 7 if you'd like to come earlier. And then we also open the leisure current channel from 6 to 8 before lessons. We do have a later time that we've coordinated with the seniors at 10 o'clock to come through the leisure channel as well with the senior center. So a good time as well. I'd like to thank Steve and Mickey and the water department. They helped pinpoint and solve a culinary leak we had at the concession building at the lower park. And so that is luckily was found outside of the building and not under the building and taken care of. Had it been under the building, they were just going to put a new polyvine into the building rather than the old metal pipes. And just so you're aware, our dance team is invited again to the Stadium of Fire to dance this year, so we're excited to have our community dance program dancing in the Stadium of Fire again this year. So, thank you.
Thanks, Carl. Any other staff that would like to come report? Now we'll go ahead with council reports, starting with Doug, council.
Yeah, we've got a few things. First of all, just want to give a shout out to the parks crew and the mayor and Janine and everybody else. The Memorial Day service was beautiful. The cemetery looked great, and it was a really fine event. And Mr. Tuckett sings quite well with his brothers and his dad. His older brother, who gets confused as being his dad.
Poor Randy.
Anyway, it was a really nice event, and I hope more people find out about it. It was very touching. It was just a great event to go out and be thankful for those who have sacrificed for us, and I think the program was very nice. Chalk the Block at the library is an amazing event. There were people there all day long. There were activities for kids. It was just great community event. If you didn't get a chance to go, next time we do it, you got to go. And our librarian and their staff are doing amazing things down there. It really is an amazing place. Like, they're doing more with less. I'm just really impressed with what they do. So there's that. We also had the opportunity to go to the Kiwanis Golf Tournament and laugh at Brett. Golf with Brett. That was a lot of fun. But we were not the last ones. Dave. And Linda basically kept us from taking last place. She had straight drives, and it was great. Anyway, just thanks to the staff. I apologize to Jill for missing the DRC meeting, but I appreciate the invite. I don't know how I got that mixed up, but the city staff does so many things all the time, and I don't see most of them, but they just go on and they make sure that the city's running really well, and I just appreciate all the work that they put in.
Okay, I'd like to just say a few things here before I turn it over to Councilwoman Carter. I do want to second everything that Doug has said about the staff and Chalk Around the Block and the veterans of the Memorial Days program. It was extremely well done and very moving ceremony for our veterans. The other thing that I'd like to mention is some time ago I went to the Utah Valley Home Builders Association lunch in preparation for the Parade of Homes. I'd like to mention that the Parade of Homes is beginning June 7th, which is tomorrow, and goes through the 23rd. We also have a home in our city down in the Heritage Village. Would encourage everyone to go see that, go through the Parade of Homes. And as a result of attending that luncheon, I do have some tickets for the mayor and city council if any of you are wanting to have them. So, Councilwoman Carter.
Thank you. I want to echo what Doug said too. It's nice to start off the summer with the program that we had out at the cemetery. I've gone for a number of years, and I think it was by far the best one that we've had for a long time. I really enjoyed it. Dave and I had front row seats at the Chop the Block, and it was so fun to watch all those little kids and excited about the library and everything, and I think we need to do that often. We had music, hot dogs. If any of you haven't stopped down there on Monday night to have a hot dog to buy, you get the hot dog, a drink, and either a cookie or chips for $3. And it is so fun and worth it, and the money goes to the library to build the teen room. They're trying to raise it, get 1,000,000 pennies. Yeah, 1,000,000 pennies. So I encourage everybody to be down there next Monday. It's fun. And I also appreciate the staff. They do such good work, and we appreciate them. And that's it.
I'd like to jump in real quick, Councilman Hune, before we go any further. I want to make sure that we excuse Teresa, Councilwoman Hyatt. She's on vacation this month. That's the reason she's not here, but just want to make mention of that. Councilman Hune.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say that I've never been to a memorial service before, a Memorial Day, and I went down there on this last Memorial Day, and it was very moving, and I'm not going to be missing those again. So I appreciate our servicemen and women that have served, and I think also the police need to be included in this because they have a lot of people have been bashing the police in the last few years, and they're very important to our community too. So I'm very appreciative of that service, and I'm glad that I went. A couple other things is we're planning our second annual golf event. We've been working on that. It'll be September 26th, and we're trying to do something a little different this year. Because we have golfers that come and golf, but we want the spouses or non-golfers to be able to come and see Payson and be with us and be part of an adventure also. And so we're looking at have tethered hot air balloon rides and some side-by-side up to 4 bay and a few things like that, so other people can come and be part of the event and be part of Payson also. So anyway, that'll be on September 26th. Then the new downtown organization group is planning a cleanup this Saturday at 9 a.m. And they're going to meet at the corner of Main Street, Utah Avenue. And they just say bring your brooms, shovels, garbage bags, wheelbarrows, rakes, and anything that'll help us clean up. So, and then we're going to have the street sweeper come down through Monday and sweep after they do their cleanup. So anybody can come help downtown. I think it's very interesting is through our branding studies and some other things that we've done, people want to, as we grow, want to keep the small town feel. And one thing they mention a lot is keeping our downtown quaint and unique, and that'll kind of keep us centered in a town that feels family friendly. So another thing they're looking at doing is doing some activities during this summer. One of the things they've talked about is doing a cornhole tournament. And I don't know if you know what cornhole is, but they even have it on ESPN now, but they throw these little big bags in little holes, and so we're talking about doing things like that downtown to bring people downtown. So anyway, appreciate that group that's working on that, and that's all I have.
I also attended the Chalk Around the Block and thought it was an excellent little activity. We missed you. Had a really good time. My kids loved it. My wife thought it was great. Loved the atmosphere and the ambiance down there in downtown area. The sun had dipped behind the buildings and shaded the whole road, and it just really was very pleasant and enjoyable. The only grumbling I ever heard was that the band packed up and left early. They would like to have stayed and listened to the band all night long. So, my wife went to the pool today, and just kudos to the parks on that. She said she loved it. was great, friendly, clean. She felt the pricing was perfect. It wasn't too high. She was kind of surprised by that. Just had a good day. Spent like 3.5 hours up there today, so which was good. And the Kiwanis Golf Tournament, that was a great experience. I'm grateful for Doug. He actually helped me look good. We're trying to recruit a ringer for next year. Tracy. We feel he's a city employee and needs to represent. We weren't dead last, but we were right there. But I had a really good time. It was great. I don't know if you could have asked for a more beautiful morning. It's cloud cover right up until the second to the last hole, and just ideal temperature. Really had a good time and appreciate the good work that's up there. I still think that's probably the nicest golf course in the state, in my opinion. So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for all your comments. It doesn't appear we have any scout attendance certificates to take care of, so we'll move on to Jade Walker in the chamber. Oh, okay. I just had a name down for Jade. Sorry, Ty.
You're good.
Yeah, so Mayor, Council, Public, thank you. Just real quick before we present the business of the month, I'd love to report on our most recent event. We had a shop local event. We had a lot of attendance, and we were able to get some new members to the chamber through allowing other businesses to come, whether they're members or not. And then, they signed up. They enjoyed it so much, and we look forward to this summer. And we have some good events coming up, as maybe you've seen in our chamber magazine. But we'll get going to giving the credit where credit's due. Rory Adams won our Business of the Month, and I just have something to read about Rory. Rory moved to Payson in 2010 when he took over the Farmers Insurance Agency. During his time here, he has not only built a business into a successful venture, but he has become involved in the city of Payson as well. He is currently a sponsor of Payson High School football, basketball, and baseball teams. When not in his office, you can find him on out in the city baseball, basketball, or soccer fields, coaching a young team. He has been very involved with Payson and later in the Payson and Santaquin Area Chamber of Commerce, serving as a board member, president-elect, past president, and current, he was the president. Rory has also been a sponsor of many chamber activities, including Movies in the Park, the annual Easter egg hunt, and the Great Pumpkin Hunt, and the Free Fishing Day, amongst others. He loves living in Payson, enjoys the opportunities to give back to the community, that helps to provide a source of income for his family. He prides himself in providing a personal touch to his clients, always taking care of their needs as a priority. Rory was born in Zambia and raised in South Africa, where he met and married his sweetheart, and forgive me, is it Charn? Charnay. See, I'm confused, Rory. I always thought your accent was from Delta. I didn't know it was South Africa. But anyway, forgive me, Charnay. They made the decision to move their family from South Africa and settle in the USA. After a real roller coaster ride with immigration, they finally became citizens in 2015 and absolutely loved their new home. On a personal note, I'm proud to call Rory a friend, And he's a great example of blossoming where he's planted, whether that be South America or South Africa or Payson, Utah. So Rory, congratulations. Please say a few words.
We've got somebody to translate for me. Yeah, just thank you. I really appreciate the recognition. I really do enjoy my time in Payson. I love the city. I love being involved, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm on this side today. I'm in all of them. It's all you, Pastor. Okay, we want to see Linda.
There's a big white spot in the middle.
What's that supposed to mean?
It's just the light above your head.
Just won't focus.
It takes a lot of man to fill this shirt.
Okay, we'll move on to action item E. Public hearing, it'll be enterprise fund transfers. I guess staff presentation will be Sarah.
Yeah.
Okay, Sarah, you're up.
Scott? How do we move it over like you did before?
So you can drag it, slide it over, and you can change your view.
Is it a PowerPoint?
Move what over? How many tablets for you?
I know you have two scores, so you know this one here. You know the whole thing.
The whole thing?
So right now you're in two different views.
Oh, how do I change that so I don't know what I'm doing? Usually if you have the function, but this one even work. This is only working.
Break.
Yeah, it's definitely working. Okay, that's fine.
It's like an F button function.
Oh, there we go. Then you saw one.
You're on.
It'll bounce
Go to
into one.
display. The problem is, I need to fix that because I can't see.
Yeah, it's duplicate.
Okay, sorry. We'll try to make this work. Yeah, you can. Okay, so we have to have a public hearing regarding our transfers that we make from the enterprise funds to the general fund. And state law, that happened last year, the first year was last year. So this is the second year we have to do that. This was noticed, we put it on Facebook, put it out in the paper, put it on the public meeting notice website. It's been out there for public to see. And you can see down at the bottom, it shows how much has been transferred out compared to the total expenses in each enterprise fund. You can see electric, we're transferring 1.146 million, which is about 9.8% of their total expenditures. And that's going to the general fund. Solid waste is has two transfers. It's transferring 185,000, which is about 8.5% to the general fund, and then 90,000 to the capital projects. And that comes from the Kenny Singh property, those gravel royalties that we're putting into capital projects, trying to build back up our capital projects account. Wastewater transfer is about 200,000, that's 6%. The reason that's lower is the $15 rate increase that we approved. I do not transfer that portion. We don't transfer any of that from that. Water, it's 4.4%.
And that it's skewed because we have $3.8 million worth of bonds included in that for our big water projects that we need to have done. So that number's a little bit skewed. And then ambulance is transferring $67,000. And then over on the right side, you have your indirect service charges. Those are the charges that we assess to all the different departments for admin charges. It's all the overhead charges, basically. So I guess we can open up to public.
Okay. We'll do have a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So we'll open the public hearing. Step to the mic, state your name, and try to speak clearly. And if you agree or disagree with the previous comments that were made, please don't repeat the same information. If we have anybody who'd like to come up and speak to this transfer of funds, please do so. Okay, it doesn't appear anyone's wanting to come up, so we'll have a motion to close public hearing.
I'll make a motion that we close public hearing.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, in regards to the enterprise fund transfers, any council discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion on to approve the enterprise fund transfers.
I'll make a motion that we approve the enterprise fund transfers as outlined.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. This calls for a roll call vote, starting with Councilman Welton.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
It passes, motion passes. Okay, we'll go to number 2, resolution, amendments to the Payson City fee schedule. Again, staff presentation.
They're going to try to fix my computer for me so I can
Okay,
do both.
we'll just kind of wait here.
Yeah, so you can see in the fee schedule, it's in your packet, right? What we've done is we've increased the utility rates, the garbage, what else is there, solid waste and garbage are the same thing. Culinary water and storm drain is 50 cents, but everything else is a 2.1% CPI increase. And so on that, it shows the changes that were made.
And CPI for the public is?
Consumer price index. It's basically inflation.
I guess people who are watching should know
2.1%.
what
Yeah.
our acronyms are.
Yep. Is there any questions for me? As soon as we can get my display to.
There might be some after.
The function key is not working on this laptop for some reason. So. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. I think this is where it starts. So you can see, do you want me to go through every one of them? Yes, no?
Not the CPI. I don't think we need to do the CPI
Okay.
personally, but the other, I think they should know.
So
We should have a little conversation
The only
again.
other one is the stormwater, and it's 50 cents a month.
Yep.
But everything else is CPI.
So for those watching or in the crowd, the 50 cents a month is to try to start upgrading our storm drain that is way past overdue in many areas. And it's a $30 to $40 million last I checked, and so this isn't going to fix it all, but it's going to get us moving in the right direction so we're not flooding homes.
Yeah, and 50 cents, because it's based on ESUs, which I don't know, it's basically the square footage. It's the open surface, right? What does ESU stand for, Travis? Do you know?
Basically like, it's like an equivalent residential unit.
Okay. But this says ESU in the fee schedule. But I think it's basically their surface that they have, and it's kind of a big jump. 50 cents you wouldn't think is a big jump, but for some of these businesses that have huge parking lots, it's quite the jump for them. So that's why we proposed a 50-cent increase. Any discussion?
So, Hey, just need to make a point, that affects all your commercial businesses a
Yeah.
lot more than 50 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and we displayed that. I might have it in the council packet. Do you want me to pull that up?
Sure.
I hope it's in there. Yeah, that's the one I gave Dave. I thought it was in that
So it's
packet.
50 cents per square foot of hard surface.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there was some where it was.
So if you got a big parking lot like Walmart, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was like a couple $100 a month increase for the businesses. Mm-hmm. So you guys can keep talking. I don't know if I'm gonna find it. I was just hoping you guys would talk.
How far does it affect the smaller business? Like Scott's, is it a big jump for some of your parking lots or?
Well, it depends on if it's all hard surface. If, like Timken, they'll get hit hard
Yeah.
because, they have not much grass, it's all hard surface. I mean, 50 cents doesn't sound like a lot to a household, but it's a lot to a business.
I thought I had it in the packet. I don't see it in the packet.
Is it on the tentative budget?
Keep discussing because I have it on my computer.
Well, that's just hard surface, not that they have vacant land, right? It's just like parking lots.
Green space isn't affected.
If they're building on their parking lot.
There you go.
While we're waiting, Chief Bishop and Tracy Zobel will do an improv comedy piece.
Scott's the leading act back here.
Okay.
That's Scott. On the back row.
Why not bring you both up?
The heckler.
Sorry, I thought you guys had discussed that previously, so I didn't think I would need it.
We had yours.
So, sir, has anybody calculated how much more money this will bring in each year by raising this to 50 cents?
So it's about 56,000. And we're looking at millions of dollars. But you can see, so I got this from Cheryl, what they're currently paying and calculated it based on what it is. And you can see for Nebo School District High School, it's going to be a $200 increase to them. Walmart, it'll be $200 to them. Liberty Safe, $157.
And just to be clear, this is money that will be used in the
The storm drain.
storm drain
Yep.
capital
This
system.
is totally for storm drain. We're trying to address, we've heard that there's concerns about the storm drain issues that we have, and we've got to start somewhere. Sorry, I would have this, I thought you guys had discussed it, so I apologize for being all over.
I think we have discussed it. I think we're good.
Okay. Or you have other things you need to present, Sarah, then?
No.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. I believe that we've had some of a discussion, but council, you have anything else you'd like to discuss in regards to this resolution? Okay, liking further discussion, I'd entertain a motion on the resolution.
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 66-2018, amending the Payson City fee schedule to reflect updated solid waste, sewer, culinary, water rates, and storm and sewer fees.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, this calls for a roll call vote, starting with Councilman Christensen.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. We'll move on to number 3, public hearing on the resolution of adoption of fiscal year 2019 budget.
Okay, so you guys adopted a tentative budget on May 2nd, and, you know, technically we could go off of that because we did have a public hearing, but typically the public hearings are in June. I don't feel it hurts to have too many public hearings, so that's why we're having a public hearing, giving the public another opportunity to speak about the budget. And you guys can have the opportunity to move forward with the truth in taxation, which it was decided May 2nd that that's what you wanted to do. But if you have a change of heart, you can adopt a budget tonight. And I sent out the truth, the certified tax rates last night. Were you all able to see that?
Yes.
So they dropped our rates just slightly a little bit, and you can see that. So in order to meet where we need to be to hire the new police officer and someone for the development services, we need to raise property taxes about 11%.
Let the public know about how much that would be.
That's about $1.50 per month. That's
On a
$250,000 home, market value $250,000 home. I saved my presentation as a PDF so nobody could mess with it.
That would still show us about in the average area for property tax, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, and we don't know because other cities could
Yeah.
bump up. So,
But it's
based
not
on last
going
year,
to change drastically
we're
our
below average.
place.
Yeah, no, it won't change drastically. So if we keep the tax levy the same, it would bring in, I believe it was $80,000 on that. But it was a lot, it ended up being lower than what we thought. We were projecting a 14% increase, but it's about 11%. And that would be about $280,000 in revenue that we'd need for the city, and $1.50 for residents with a home value to $250,000.
And most of that's the CPI, right? I mean, basically it's the adjustment or.
Yeah, to keep the levy
right,
the same.
The levy the same, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and I think it's important, we didn't increase the CPI on electric.
No, we did not
Okay,
increase
so
CPI on
for
electric.
anybody who's interested, we didn't increase the CPI on the electric.
And we haven't.
And when they say 11%, it's 11% of Payson City's portion of property tax, which is a very
Yes.
small amount. It's not your total property tax.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Anything else, Sarah?
No.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you have an opinion on this resolution, please step to the mic and address us, speak clearly, and we'll give you that opportunity at this time. Okay, it doesn't appear anyone would like to come up and express their opinion, so I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this resolution by council?
And if you guys,
This is the final budget or the tentative?
this is tentative.
Well, this would be the final if we vote on it, but if we do a truth in taxation, then we push it off till August.
Right.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion on the resolution.
I'll make a motion that we do a truth in taxation and look at the final budget in August.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. This calls for roll call vote, starting with Councilman Welton.
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, so do you want more budget work sessions? We've had quite a few. Do you want to continue to have more? Yeah, I mean, we've had lots and.
Good.
I wanted to show you real quick before we move on. I projected where we're gonna be for our general fund balance. And we already transferred $900,000 out to our capital projects fund because we had too much fund balance last year. I don't wanna have that same issue. And it looks like we're still gonna be pretty high in our fund balance. And as I get closer to the end of the year, I might be able to project a little bit closer, but it's hard because I don't know if people are gonna blow all their budget, at the end, spend every dime they have, or if they don't, type of thing. So trying to project, we're gonna be about 23%. So if you wanna transfer more, I can put that in the next budget amendment and transfer more over to the capital projects. And I would suggest, well, I'll send you a suggestion, I don't wanna throw a number off the top of my head, but a couple $100,000 for sure.
Yeah, I think we had last time we talked in our work session, we talked about doing some things that instead of pushing them in next year's budget, doing them this year and budget for them this year.
Yeah, so anyways, that's where we're at, and then you can see the capital projects budget. We will have $859,000, but we're gonna be using, about $600,000 of that for the plans that we're doing on that, and then I have $800,000 reserved for the RDA because we transferred that over to the RDA, but if we have roads that we have to put in, then we wanna keep that there. But the RDA is also, it's got the fund balance built up because of all the property we sold, so keep that in mind as well. That, it shows 800, but really got 1.6, and if you want to use the RDA funds. Any questions?
No. No, I'll talk about it.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to number 4, another public hearing ordinance regarding updates to the impact fee facilities plan and impact fee analyst for water, parks, and recreation and public safety. Travis?
Mayor and Council, I'll just introduce Brent Ventura. He's with Horrocks Engineering. He's the one that prepared these documents, so he'll give just a short presentation, and then if you guys have any questions before you want to open the public hearing, then we can try to answer them between us.
Sometimes what we put up on that screen isn't always that readable, depending where you're sitting, so. I need my glasses for this. Yeah, 11 by 17 is going to hit nice.
Thank you.
My glasses for this one. Yeah, Dave said to bring a brief presentation, so I focused on brief. Is this little leg thing, is that the move it forward? Or the leg thing flips through screen? Okay. I don't know how educated each of you are on the impact fee law, what they are. And so I just put a couple basic slides together just to help you understand impact fees. If you all already know what they are and we can skip that part instead of be patronizing. But just in case you want a quick review of them, impact fees are basically a way that public entities have of collecting fees from new developments to help finance the new infrastructure that is required for their new developments. It's not meant to solve other problems throughout the city, but those required by new development. Impact fees can be charged for projects that are required to accommodate future development and only those that are coming in the next 6 years. That's just the window you have. It's the law that's been passed. They cannot be, as I mentioned, used for existing deficiencies. You can't find a place that's flooding and use impact fees to go fix that problem.
The projects expected to be anything past 7 years aren't impact fee eligible in this round of impact fees, but they can become as they move into the 6-year window. They have to be calculated on the existing level of service. You can't project a new level of service, a higher level of service on new development coming in than you're already providing your existing residents. That's the point of the level of service. And new development does not pay an excessive proportion. That's supposed to be taken into consideration, that everybody's paying their share of this, and development pays the same share that past developments and past residents have. It's based on an impact fee facilities plan, which has a lot of steps before it, a capital facilities plan, a master plan, to make sure that everything in your city's planned out appropriately, and you guys are taking those steps right now. And by the way, we have a lot of respect for Freganesi. We were sad to not be selected to do that project, but we think you've got a great consultant and you're headed down the right path. So some of these things in the next year and a half or two will be updated, and you'll have a lot larger data points to base a lot of this off of. But the critical element for your impact fee facilities plan really is that you've come down to a point where you know what needs to be done, taken care of in the next 6 years, and that's your plan, and those are your projects that you can base your impact fee calculations on. Your impact fee analysis is the last requirement of the law, and essentially it's got these 5 critical elements to it, essentially. It's based on your IFFP, your 6-year plan. It defines the highest amount of impact fees that you can charge. You can charge anything lower than that, but what it basically says is this is all the money you will need to advance development in the city, and if you're charging more than that, you're charging something excessive. So that's the law. Defines the highest that the city can charge. It must consist of, must consider all of the funding sources. You have to take into consideration you may be getting a grant from MAG or from UDOT, or part of it's going to be funded through the general fund, and you have to consider those things. You can't just put all of the monies in there if there's other funding sources that are contributing. And it must allow for new development to appeal impact fees. This is something critical to not ending up in lawsuits. They're very clearly in the law, you have to allow for development to come in and say, hey, you've done this kind of as an average, we don't fit this mold, we've got some data, and you have to let your staff consider that data that comes in and see if they really do have the impact that the impact fees are projecting for that type of development. And finally, you have to consider excess capacity in your system and allow people to be able to buy into the excess capacity rather than build a new project or pay for a new project if it's really not needed, if there is capacity there. So we considered 3 elements. We did impact fee facilities plans and analyses for 3 different elements. And the first one was parks and recreation. Turns out in the next 6 years, three parks are planned: Regional Park, Springside Meadows, and the Hancock Trail Connection. And they total close to $2 million worth, and you can see the years they're kind of planned for construction with the N on the wrong line. And that the impact fees are planned to pay for each of those. So, pretty straightforward. Public safety, this one kind of went around it. It's got a few elements in there, and there's one in particular, item number 2, existing fire station expansion. You've got a few beds that can be put in upstairs, and I think about 2,000 square feet of expansion that can be done in the existing facility. That's inexpensive compared to building a new building. That's the first thing up on the agenda. A new fire suppression truck, and then a new fire and EMS station. It looks like it's on the horizon. In about 2023 is when your population reaches a need for more. You may have a need now as far as how far your trucks, how long it's taking your vehicle to respond. Even though your population can be served by the amount of people you have, it's a matter of travel time. And so the sooner you can get another station put in where it can start reaching things in a more timely manner, I think that's where that station comes from. Water is the last one. It's won't go through all the projects, but it has a lot of elements in there. We added 2. The reason this one's on there is there are 2 updated items in the secondary water system. And they're not there in an order, in a specific order by date, but they were on because the list is so confusing. We numbered them, the projects, by number. They just happen to fall on this 1 through 10, where those projected construction years aren't to a specific timeline. But they add up to $3.5 million, and those have been adjusted. It says 2017 budgets. That was the last time we estimated those projects, but the construction year estimate then is projected for the year that with inflation and possibly for financing for getting those projects done. So each of those was analyzed for impact fees, all those projects put into each of their different elements, and the fee schedules recommended to come out of there were for parks and recreation, $2,800 for single family residential, Multifamily dwellings, a little bit less because they have less people in them, $2,250 per dwelling unit. Public safety, 610, my eyes aren't fooling me. And then $3,750 for commercial industrial. The difference there is because the fire suppression truck cannot be charged to residential units, which is kind of funny. We're talking with the fire chief about that. Most of the calls end up at residential units, so why you can't put impact fees from residences towards impact fees towards a fire truck doesn't really make sense from it, but it's in the law, so that's what it is. So the businesses, the industrial users, they're the ones that end up paying for the fire trucks, and it jacks their impact fee quite a bit higher. Water rates for family residential, $1,867 per dwelling unit, and then for commercial industrial, those are based on their water use rates per connection, that data that we receive from the city, and that would be about it. So each of these are an example of where someone may come in, a different commercial entity, and say, we really don't use that much water compared to residents, and they can provide data to show that they really don't cause that kind of impact, and they can have their impact fee lowered by you if you choose to, and if staff finds that's appropriate. So any questions? Happy to field questions. I know that the Home Builders Association's here. They had a few questions. We were able to put some answers together yesterday. Wasn't quick enough probably to get them back to them and help them understand resolutions to their questions. So I think Dave may have some comment about that. Maybe putting off the resolution to later. I wanted to speak to that for a second. And then I'm still happy to answer questions. Yeah. Sorry.
This is a public hearing, so we'll open it up for comments, but based on the concerns of the Home Builder Association, we thought we'd have a public hearing that was already noticed. But our recommendation would be, and you can take other comments you have, but our recommendation would be to postpone an enactment of the impact fees till our next meeting. And we'll meet with the Home Builder Association, have Brent meet with us as well, and we'll try to make sure that we're all on the same page, and then we'll bring it back to you in a meeting. So that's what we're thinking, but based on the public comment or based on your desires, we can go whatever direction you.
I have a few questions.
Great.
On the impact fees, can you give me what our impact fees are currently? I never saw it. I didn't go research it, but
So that was funny. I just talked to Travis before the meeting. Said typically my last slide will be a comparison with your old ones, and I don't have what the old. They're so old. I think a lot of them that
we'll get it for you.
Yeah, a lot of times they're a small comparison. You can see if they go up or down, but I'm sure these are all going to go up because your impact fees are pretty old.
Right. The Parks and Rec, it's 2,800 and 2,000 for the multi-family was 2,000, but the residential was 2,800.
So it's similar.
Very similar.
Still the same.
So I do have a few other questions. One is, you said you couldn't use this money to fix deficiencies, but
Correct.
on the water, we have a lot of replacement of pipelines. Is that because we're going to bigger pipeline, or is that why? How do you
Yes, if it's a pipeline replacement, it's because you need to increase the capacity to, and you don't necessarily want to run 3 different lines because we need more capacity, so we'll put one next to it, and you end up with a lot of utilities all over the place.
Okay, and then the last thing I have is on Parks and Rec. One thing that I saw in there that we didn't address 4Bay. We have 450 acres up there. We really have no money to do anything with it, and it wasn't addressed at all. I'd like to see that addressed some way, because as more residents come, we can use,
Add that in as a park?
Yeah, we'll have it as a park. I mean, it is a park, basically.
Right, it's a park that acts without.
Is this just city-owned property that
Real
functions
access.
for recreation, but you haven't done anything to improve it?
Yeah.
So we have to look here for what's going to happen in the next 6 years. So I don't think it was calculated in there. That's if the amount we paid or paying for that, one of the impact fees, you'd have a $10,000 recreation fee.
Well, I'm not talking about what we're paying now. I'm talking about if we can get a road or some way it can be used
paying
more.
for the land with it. It's,
Right.
it's
Put a
the
parking lot
infrastructure
there
to access and use it, so it's a real park.
So you already own the land, is what you're saying. So it
Yeah.
could be, did we not include that in
I
the
don't think it's
existing inventory of
I don't think so.
properties?
No.
If we put that in there, then we could certainly have it on the list of minor improvements, things that we could use impact fees for as improvements to that park, and list possibilities that we could X, Y, and Z in that park, and leaves the possibilities open for what you could do.
Yeah, I'd like to see that happen.
The more detail you put in them, the more easy it is to justify using impact fees for them, because we were planning on it. It's not we didn't just materialize this out of air during the last year.
Also,
We
that,
have to discuss it.
just as a note, that is as well in open space. It is, open space and park space, but that's one of the main reasons probably we did include it as well, because it's open space and maybe not as traditional. That would increase our level of service as well, and then I don't know that we could keep up with that level of service.
I think what we
With the
discussed,
specialty park of the golf course, for example.
We specifically excluded the golf course
Right.
because of how high it would
Because
put
it's
the
a
level of
specialty
service.
park.
And a couple other, I think.
I think
We're just
what we
looking at
discussed was just that
The
parking
road
on
and
that
parking
road.
lot is all we're looking
All
for.
we're looking for within
Maybe
the
a
next
couple of
6
picnic
years.
tables. We're not trying to do anything really fancy.
Yeah, it
But
should be.
if that requires, I know that there's a gray area here. We don't know.
That doesn't sound like a stretch to me. If you use it for recreational purposes,
Something we
it
can
can be
look into.
included and
Yeah.
just documented that it's there. It doesn't need to be included in any calculations or increase a fee or anything, but it ought to be noted that it's there, just like we did with the golf course.
Question, you said this calculated inflation. I'm just wondering, so we had projected several projects that have come in recently at 2 and 3 times what we had projected them to be. How accurate is this? I mean, we're looking like really high cost.
Right. We can't always account for huge random fluctuations in industries or material costs or things like that. And so what we typically do is cities typically, for Bluffdale, for instance, I'll do this every 18 months. They want this thing updated because they're growing so rapidly and doing things. And so we're constantly keeping on top of the prices. But where someone like Payson, you probably need to update this every 3 to 5 years because the growth isn't that drastic. So you're trying to project from today, and we'll use today's kind of unit prices for what construction is, and 3 years from now they're not valid anymore. So what we try to do is just with inflation, say if construction stays about the same, we'll apply like a 6% increase on that thing every year, and that's about the price that it would be, so it's not going down. Sometimes there's a downturn in the economy and you get it the other way around. But
Sure.
Yeah, there's much we can do about it. Guessing 2 years from now, if it's
6 months.
if steel prices go out the roof,
price.
then yeah, it's hard. But that also doesn't mean that you're stuck with that cost estimate for that project on impact fees. You can still use impact fees for the full cost estimate. You just need to go back and adjust your impact fees 2 years from now and say, hey, this thing costs a lot more than we thought. It's going to increase impact fees.
So to answer your question, this is what John uses. There's a question on whether we had Brent do the water impact fee. I just don't know if we adopted it, and then when we had those other projects added to it, we did it again. But what we've got here is the water impact fee was $14.04. Now it's $18.
It's $18.67.
The commercial was $10,292. Now it's $13. And the industrial is proposed $21.28. It was $16.01. For the park impact fee, actually for single family, it's the exact same. Even with the new analysis, it's $2,800. That's the old one. That's the new one. And the multifamily is proposed $2,250. The multifamily in the current one's $2,000. And then public safety. Public safety was 405, and it's going up to 610. So those are the differences from what.
What about the water connection? Was the water connection for public safety?
Public safety for commercial, or was that one?
Public safety commercial.
It was 405, and we just used equivalent residential unit.
I don't think it was broken out before.
Yeah.
It was a single fee.
Oh, so
This is broken out
we added
specifically,
commercial.
yes, specifically because of the truck.
Okay.
But they did 405, and then per gross 1,800 square foot. So they would use the residential fee, and then depending on how big.
Yeah, same as the storm drain thing. You compare it to a home and how much bigger it is. It's 3 times, and you pay 3 of the fees.
Anyway, it is a public hearing, so.
Okay, hear from the home builders.
So they'll do it in public hearing then, I guess?
Yeah,
We haven't opened it, we haven't.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and, I'll be asking for a motion to open public hearing.
We already know.
No, we.
I'll make a motion that we move to public hearing.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing is now open. Again, repeating the steps. Step to the mic, state your name and address and speak clearly, and we'll give you that opportunity right now.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Deanne Hewish. I'm with the Utah Valley Home Builders Association, and I appreciate Brent's explanations. And I just received, as he was speaking, 3 pages here, some explanations on what my questions were from the Home Builders Association. So we'll go through those and get back with him also. We're also appreciative of the city maybe tabling this, giving us a chance to go through it again and look at it again. And we did have those same numbers too, of what the rates were. Initially, the first draft came out of public safety at $770 from $405 for a single family home. And so now it's down to $610, I just found out tonight. And so that's probably that fire suppressant truck. There was some other questions that we had about the level of service, things that weren't addressed tonight because I'm sure everybody was aware that it wasn't going to be taken for a final vote, but some of the things were the level of service and how it's equated and how it's stated, because it's been with the parks on acreage, and now they're talking about the value, which is a different kind of term, so we'll get more familiar with that one because that's not customary. There was just a lot of other different questions, and I can go through them, but I don't know if it's really valid at this time, as I haven't read through everything of the resolutions of our questions. But we did appreciate the city having us come down and having Brent relook at this for us from Horrocks. And his explanation of what impact fees are was very accurate and to the point and concise, because the law and ordinance is very long and very confusing. And so I just wanted to express my gratitude as we go through this again.
I'm glad that you spoke up and that you're willing to work with them, and
Oh, absolutely.
we probably should have done it a little sooner, but we're glad to have.
We were here in the fall.
We're glad to have partnerships.
Yes, oh yes.
We
Travis
appreciate
had us
that.
come down in the fall, last fall in October, and we saw some things, and then it was kind of tabled for a while as they were working through it, and here we are again now in June, so we'll get through it. The Home Builders Association represents 450 builders and developers, and actually in that Parade of Homes books I just gave you, there's 3 developments that are here in Payson. It was Heritage Village, Temple Rim, and Arrowhead Park. And so we're expecting to see a lot of things happening now in Payson, and this is a good time to partner and with the city and go through these fees.
We certainly want to work well with you, with your association, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're in a public hearing. As those that are coming in, if you have any comments on the ordinance that we're contemplating, the impact fees. Okay, if we have no further comments, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
We have any further council discussion?
No, so we're going to bring this back in 2 weeks, right?
Right.
Okay.
So I'd entertain a motion for that ability to bring it back next.
Yeah, just make a motion to table it.
I'll make a motion that we table it for 2 weeks.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. Roll call vote starting with Councilman Christensen.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, and number 5, resolution authorizing users of the PTIF account. Sarah, you're up again.
I'm up again.
Yes.
I'm sick of
Busy night.
I'm sick of hearing myself. This one's fast. The PTIF, it's our state savings account, basically. Trying to put it in terms that everybody can understand. That's where we put all of our money. It's held with the state. Anyways, in order to make it easier for us to transfer funds and access the accounts, they're implementing a new program and they're adding users. So they wanted us to just add users. We've added Dave, me, and Cheryl. And then when Cheryl's position changes, when we hire somebody new, we'll change Cheryl and add the new person. That's all it is, just approving us as signers on the accounts.
Council discussion.
You sure we can trust Dave?
I don't know, yeah.
He laughed.
He's not here to defend himself, so.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 606, 2018, resolution of Payson City approving and authorizing mayor ruling our right to add or delete users on behalf of Payson City to access and transact with the PTIF accounts related to the Utah Office of the State Treasurer.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
I have a.
Okay, go ahead.
Can I ask for some clarification on that
Sure.
motion? So can he single-handedly add and remove people, or does it take more than just his?
No, if we need to remove and add people, we have to bring it back to council as a resolution.
Then I will add that into the resolution. It has to come to council to add or remove. And then the mayor can sign that.
Yes.
That'll be my amendment to the resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we still have a motion for that one?
Yes.
Okay, we have a second?
I need a second for the amendment. I'll second the amendment.
Seconded. Okay, roll call vote starting with Councilman Welton.
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Okay, moving on to number 6, preliminary plan and final plat approval of AWD in Incorporated Subdivision, Plat B located at 492 North, 1100 West, and consisting of 2 lots in the I-1 Light Industrial Zone. What's that? And 7 as well? Okay. Resolution deferral agreement for AWD Incorporated Subdivision, Plat B located at 492 North, 1100 West, and consisting of 2 lots in the I-1 Light Industrial Zone. Okay, Daniel.
Well, that's all the information.
Can't be.
But I did it for you, Matt.
We're done.
Okay.
Yeah. So we discussed this one, I think, briefly before. It regards so a 2-lot subdivision, but in order to do this, we need to have a deferral. And so we discussed how do we do a deferral when we don't know if we're going to approve the subdivision. How do we do a subdivision if we don't know if we can do the deferral? So we have a chicken and egg thing. So here we're looking at 492 North, 1100 West. Do I have? I don't know. The red thing, but so it's that northern lot. Is there? Nope, that's a pen. And there's an existing building on this lot, and the owner would like to subdivide the lot into 2 lots. 1 lot would consist of the existing building. Ooh. Oh, Kim, right here. He's got one. Councilman Christensen has one. Okay. I'm gonna toss it. Sure. Alright, so how many?
A little line on the top.
Yeah, that line on the top.
The line.
There you go.
Okay, so it's this lot right here, so subdivided like this, existing building. Well, we'll get to some pictures. So here's the subdivision plat. You can see right here, there we go. So we have an accessory structure right here. We have the existing building right here with parking and all the improvements and whatnot. And in order to subdivide it, it creates a lot right here that has no primary use, no legal primary use, and, well, yeah, no primary use and no primary structure. The only structure there is an accessory structure that's been used for storage. There's no business there. The lot is by and large unimproved. The only thing is this building, electrical that goes to it, but no water, no bathroom, nothing like that. And that's what presents the challenge that we're addressing with the deferral agreement.
Is that electrical? Does it have its own meter, or is it still tied to the existing building?
Oh,
Its own meter.
its own meter. Oh, thanks. You're here. But yeah, I was here.
So it does have its own meter. So the picture on the upper left, this is the existing building, the business. This portion can then be divided, sold off, and the applicant can keep the north lot right here, which has this structure on it that he's been using for storage of his own items and that of his family, but not for business purposes. So there's no commercial use there. Let's see what other pictures they have. So in review of the 2-lot subdivision, we reviewed the requirements of the zone. It meets the requirements in terms of lot width, which is, I believe, it's 100 feet. Setbacks, there needed to be a setback reduction that was granted for the 30-foot setback over here. Other than that, it meets the requirements of the zones aside from the issues in the deferral agreement. So what's deferred here? So we have a primary use and a primary structure. So that existing structure right here, this structure could be converted into a primary structure. It would need to go through the whole process as if we're building a new primary structure. So that's hooking up to all the utilities, installing bathroom, doing the parking lot, paved parking lot, landscaping, any kind of fencing or whatnot. And so that's what would need to occur, and that's a lot of what would need to occur to convert it from this accessory structure to a primary structure, or a future owner could build a new building on this lot, and this could remain as an accessory structure, some sort of storage shed or whatnot. And then a primary use would need to be established. So that just means any use that's permitted in this I-1 light industrial zone. So what's deferred in this agreement? So some of the key parts of the agreement, which I believe was in the packet, so I hope you had a chance to look at it. Ownership, a lot of agreements run with the land. This would run with the owner. So once the owner decides to no longer own this property, sells it to someone else, the use of this land for storage cannot continue. The use, again, limited to storage only, so no commercial uses, unless, of course, the primary structure is built or converted. And then to install the improvements, that's the curb gutter, sidewalk, utility main lines along 1100 West. Planning Commission recommended approval, I guess it was at the last meeting, whatever it is, on May 23rd. And at that meeting, they held a public hearing and there weren't any concerns. Since that time, we drafted up the deferral. My understanding is there are some terms of that deferral that the applicant's wanting to discuss with the city before he signs it, before we sign it. So the recommendation, if I understand correctly, is to remand this back to staff to allow us to talk a little bit more with the applicant, make sure that the terms are favorable to both parties. So that there's just some discussion about what those terms are, and we might need to tweak some of the language a little bit. We drafted it from the city side, but hadn't reviewed it yet with the applicant yet. So he has some concerns that we just wanted to iron out before we officially approved it. So we wanted to bring it tonight. It was on the agenda, so council could address any concerns you guys had. What's the word I'm looking for? But recognizing that the applicant would like us to remand it back to staff to allow us to have a little bit further review. So I think that concludes what I have to say. Any questions about this?
Is that for both of the motions, both of the 6 and 7?
They'll need to go together because, again, we can't approve the 2-lot subdivision unless there is a deferral.
Okay.
But
I still need to do a motion for them separately, but
okay.
You can just table both of them.
Both of them. Okay. Okay. Any council discussion?
No, if you want to go back to work on it.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
I'll make a motion to remand both the items, the preliminary plat and final plat approval at WD and the deferral agreement back to staff.
The second.
Do you have questions you want to bring
forward?
Al, do you have any?
No.
Okay.
Okay. I'll second the motion then.
Okay. It showed both a unison vote and a roll call. Just do a roll call? Just unison? Okay. It's been motioned and seconded, right? Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I think just, at least from my perspective, you're down the right track, so I think that's part, you run a little bit of feedback, make sure you're down the right track, right?
Yeah, I'd like to make sure that when it is ever sold, that it's not, and I know there's one over on Utah Avenue that's in a similar situation, and the new buyers have come in 6 months have had to turn around and sell it because they did not understand what was there. So when that property changes hands, it really needs to be disclosed that it's not move-in ready. And so that's kind of where my concern is the guy bought it and thought he could run a business and still had to run the curb and gutter. And it's an identical situation. He has power but no main structure. And so just kind of as a consideration when you're selling it, just make sure that's known.
Yeah, so with this one, that deferral agreement will be recorded on title.
Right.
The one you were mentioning, very similar situation, that wasn't in agreement with the city and there's nothing recorded on title.
Right. Okay.
So that's one of the big differences.
I like to see that little bit of paper trail.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
But I can see that if you don't need both of them and you want to move forward, I'm game for it. So.
Okay, I guess you're up for the next one too, aren't you, Daniel? Parking waiver for 99 South Main.
So this next one, 99 South Main, I'll show you a picture of it. I think it'll look familiar in the central commercial zone. In Payson City Code 19.4.12, there's a little section about off-street parking that says, due to the parking constraints in the CC1 zone, the City Council may allow the off-street parking requirements of this chapter to be satisfied in public parking areas. We'll see the reason for that here. So we're looking at 99 South Main, which is this yellow block right here. So right on the corner of Main Street and 100 South, one of the historic buildings is this one right here. It now has a mural on the side. This is from Google Street View. The challenge here is behind the building. The parcel ends right here, and where most of these buildings have parking behind the building, this one does not. And so this is actually a historic building with 0 off-street parking. Now on the ground floor, a use has been more or less continuously there for quite some time, a commercial use. But on the upstairs floor, there were 2 or more apartments there for decades, it looks like. That use was stopped sometime decades ago, maybe in the 90s or so. Fire? It's all burned. Okay, so it's just a shell right now.
Well, he's done
They fixed it up now.
He's fixed it up. The gentleman that was down below has done a lot of work upstairs. But now he's not.
So I went through the upstairs, and you can see the shell of where things used to be over time and how it's changed and whatnot. Because it's been vacant for so long, any grandfathered right has lapsed. So any legal non-conforming use is gone, and to reestablish a use would have to meet current codes. One of those is parking, and it's impossible to establish parking here. So if they were to come in and establish 2 units, 2 residential units upstairs, that would require 4 off-street parking spaces, which cannot be provided. And we went through various scenarios with various applicants, actually, looking to see if there could be parking agreements with neighboring properties, if there could be something else done to purchase some land behind or whatnot, and there weren't really any feasible alternatives. And so when we found this code, we thought this would be an appropriate use for here. We discussed this with both streets and engineering, and they're supportive of this. It would, while it would burden the neighborhood a little bit by providing some cars on street, it would provide an economic use for this building, where right now only the downstairs could be used. And my understanding is, even if we weren't, to allow parking for residences upstairs, if we were to allow it to be commercial use after all these years of being vacant, it would still require new parking spaces, because now we have new square footage of commercial use. So whatever we do to reuse that second floor would require off-street parking, and we need to have an accommodation. So that's the request, is to waive that parking requirement. Do you have any questions about that?
Any council discussion?
Yeah, I think this is anytime we use anything downtown, especially being residents down there, the only thing I would want is that the requirement is for any residents cannot park on Main Street, because we want that open for people in the businesses. So residents would not be able to park on Main Street would be my request.
I have a couple of concerns. First of all, our ordinance doesn't allow them to park on the street during the winter months for snow removal. How is that addressed in the winter time?
I talked to Kent about that, and he said there are so many cars already that park on the street, and you just work around it. And he's like, yeah, it's a little headache, but it's worth it. That was his response. So
that makes me a little leery. And the second of all, has the fire department been consulted to get a ladder truck around that corner if they're flanked on either side with cars? Does that become difficult if they need to go up Main Street?
They shouldn't be parked illegally, so they would still be parked away from the intersection. I mean, I did run it by them, but I don't know if he was thinking about that. But yeah.
Is that side curb going to be painted so they can see where they're legally able to park? I mean, it might need to be repainted if we're putting new people out there so they can see clearly where it is they need to be and not be.
Yeah.
I know there's public parking over behind the library. Is there any public parking over on this side of Main, behind those buildings there?
Behind the buildings, there's Dixon's parking lot, and then it bleeds into the fire parking lot, and then there's Ace Hardware's parking lot.
So the city doesn't have any back there.
Well, no, I believe that there's parking allocated to the fire department.
Yeah, that's city owned, but it's not
But
public.
because it's emergency parking, it has to be left open so that they can.
We discussed that, and they said
Right.
whenever there's a call, it fills up, and so they couldn't do a parking agreement to guarantee parking there.
So is that marked as well? And the only reason why I ask is because you can have that discussion with the people who are occupying it, but when their friends come to visit, they're like, oh, I'm going to park right here in Chief Spencer's spot. That's a problem.
Yeah.
So I think it needs to be marked clearly.
It is.
If it, okay. I don't park there because I know I'm not supposed to, so I don't look at the signage. Or maybe I just ignored it and parked there anyway.
And I'm wondering about, there's only one family resident across the street, but how does he feel about if they park over in front of his house?
Oh, on the south.
On the
south.
south.
Side.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think, well.
If you're talking on the street,
It's
public
public,
parking,
yeah.
and the residents either side,
Yeah.
they have no say.
And that neighbor is a little ways down the street, it would make a little more sense for him to park farther towards.
And on-street parking, the closest, if I recall correctly, would be the library parking behind the library.
Yeah.
So they could park off-street and walk a little ways to the residents during the winter months.
Oh, that still needs to be plowed, and I talked to Kent about that. I said, do we want to make it so they can't park on the street and they can park behind the library? He said, well, we still have to plow that, and so some nights there's more cars behind the library, some nights there's more cars on the street, and they find out, or they find a way to get it done.
So is it a fourplex they're trying to put up there, or is it
No,
just two separate units?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a horrendous amount. It'd be a nice one big apartment, but
It is pretty large. I did go up there. I did a building inspection with John to take a look at it before we, move forward with this idea. And 2 units does make a lot of sense up there. They're 2 fairly good-sized units. They don't have to do 2, but if they wanted to do 2, it would work.
okay.
I don't know the square footage.
Would he be all right with just one unit though?
That's what we need to do.
It might be hard to rent it if it was that size to get, because you'd almost have to double the income off of it.
He's getting zero income right now.
This is true.
Right.
Double nothing's still nothing, right?
Two times nothing is.
And I like to see residents in downtown. That's kind of the way that downtowns are going. That's what they encourage, is to have residents downtown that make your downtown more vibrant. So
Put in Japanese style parking where it's vertical. You park and it lifts you up, and then the other guy parks underneath you.
All right, so do we need a motion to approve this parking waiver?
We do. Can we do it temporary where we revisit it in 2 years in case it's not working? I mean, in some ways, I'd hate to get locked into it where it's creating a big hassle.
You have an issue where that you're allowing the use to go in there, and then coming back just at a discretionary time frame, and that might be considered an arbitrary time frame of just 2 years.
Well, it is arbitrary.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that that would fail if it was challenged.
Okay.
We do allow for the waiver, or we don't. It's not a conditional waiver. You know,
Could we just move the fire department station and make a parking lot? He's gonna ignore my comments.
there's all sorts of things that can be done in the future.
With a new station, I'd be glad.
You were gonna jump on that one, weren't you? I'm surprised I didn't get more yeehaws back there, but.
We should move, get a new fire station.
I'll make a motion that we waive the parking for the 2 apartments on the top floor of the 99 South Main building with the stipulation that they cannot park on Main Street between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m.
So I want that to be used. I mean, here's the problem. If it's,
Okay.
I don't second it.
Is there a second?
I'd like to continue discussions.
Well, you get a second, then you can discuss it.
Or it dies for lack of second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Now discussion.
There's more discussion.
So I would love to see, so my concern is like, if it just sits there and it's unoccupied, it's gonna go bad, right? I mean, it'll continue to deteriorate because nobody's looking at it, watching it, and there's a safety concern there, I think, potentially, for just sitting there unoccupied. But that street is really busy. I mean, over the last 2 years, like, the number of cars on that street, between the gym and everything else like that, I don't know that you can put them there. Like, you go down there on a Friday night, and you can tell them all you want that they can't park in those areas. Who's going to sit there and watch those cars? I mean, you're going to be driving out. I guarantee you're going to drive out business that can't park there. I guarantee it. Because somebody's going to park there, a guest will park there, 3 guests will park there. I want it to be used. I just don't think there's enough parking. I really don't.
Well, that's the reason for the waiver, but it's pretty wide road there. You know, there's plenty of room to park on both sides of the road.
Main Street?
You're
assuming that
I
they're
was just
not
thinking
parking
on
on
Main
Main
or South. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Paul Maurer wants people parking in front of his house all day, every day. I don't know, I'm mixed because I do want it to be used and I think that's a great use. I think once you do it, you can't undo it. If the attorney,
Yeah.
if I understand the attorney.
I'm also concerned with indicating that they can't utilize public parking during a time frame. I don't know how you would identify.
But if I went and I said, hey, I'm meeting at El Tapatio today.
I mean, that's a difficult one. Again, I don't know how you would enforce it during the daytime hours.
Yeah, I don't know how you enforce it, but if they put in their rental contract or something, at least there's something there that might help.
We could put time limits on the amount of time a car sits on Main Street.
We talked about that already, 2-hour time limits, so you aren't getting people, businesses, people parking there.
That's true.
You know, it's a problem with the time limit.
Bishop has a comment.
Winter,
Weather permitting,
winter.
Winter parking, what are we gonna do with it?
we addressed it. Yeah, I wasn't happy with the answer on that one either, but.
That's kind of a dark hole of enforcement. That's kind of hard to enforce with the manpower we have.
Yeah, I don't think you have time.
That area has major parking issues that need to be addressed, and I don't know that this is
Yeah,
going
behind the
to
library is a mess.
make this any worse. I think the whole area needs to be revisited, so, but I'd like to see it move forward and kind of draw people back downtown.
But I think,
You know, but I am with you, I worry that 4 to 12 additional cars right there on a long-term basis might be difficult.
There's already apartments across upstairs.
Right, there's a lot of
And I
apartments.
think a lot of them park on Main Street.
What what I can see is indicate that we're waiving the requirement for parking. But to then put a restriction on parking in public parking, I have some heartburn with that. Because one is, it won't be enforceable. What you can indicate is they can't illegally park. And that means that if they're not supposed to park on the street during winter hours or behind the library during winter hours, they're gonna have to make other arrangements. But, and leave it to the general laws. That way it's enforceable and they know that they can't violate the law by waiving the parking requirements for the number of units for the residential units that we're putting in.
I think that's an excellent way to word it. We just waive the parking requirements for that apartments so that they can move people into it, and then they're still bound by the laws and doesn't give them a free pass to park wherever they want, whenever they want.
Yeah, and I still have concerns about parking on Main Street, so maybe this is to table it and look at it in a couple of weeks, but think about putting a 2-hour time limit parking on Main Street, which helps a lot of other things, so the business owners, some of the business owners aren't parking there, and it opens it up. Maybe that's a way to resolve all this, so we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So anyway, it's something to think about. Instead of hurrying doing this, maybe we got to look at it for a couple of weeks and come back to it.
Parking meters.
Parking meters.
Right. But
Say
that way
for
you're
Main
addressing
Street.
all public parking.
Right.
Yes.
Would we have to come back 2 weeks, or can we make that suggestion now?
I just don't know if we want
I don't think you can say,
I
I think without talking to anybody on Main Street owners and say we're gonna put in 2-hour parking, that would not fly very well.
I think we ought to have some discussion on that.
But I think we can move forward. Do we need to reword the motion? How is the motion worded?
You just need to.
I'm with.
I'll make an amendment to the motion.
No, if you don't want the
I'm-
motion, you just vote against it, and then you do it.
I'm going to withdraw my motion because I want to look at the 2-hour parking
Okay.
or some other thing. So, but I want to bring it back.
So we'll need a motion to table it. Is that what we're?
I don't know if we need to table it or if we just need to approve it as a waiver. So for this address for 99 South Main, a waiver for their parking requirements.
So Councilman Hewlett withdrew his motion, so we're done with that one.
We're back to 0.
Yeah.
So we're back to 0.
Right.
So
That's what I'm asking.
I'll entertain a new motion for whatever we want to do with it.
I'll make a motion to waive the parking requirements for 99 South Main.
Yeah, that's right. That works.
There's been a motion on the table. Is there a second? Okay, motion dies for lack of a second.
I motion that we table this and look at the 2-hour parking as well as other situations. Come back to it in 2 weeks.
I'll second that.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we have some scouts here. Do we want to go ahead and take some time to do that? Councilman Christensen, would you like to handle that?
You need a motion to amend the agenda or?
Do we need a motion to do that? We'll just make time for it.
Just go back.
Do I need to be to a mic or am I good?
You are good, but I just need to get their names.
Okay, so say them clearly. Okay, we love to have the scouts here. It's a good experience. We usually do this right at the beginning of the meeting, but we'll make an exception.
It's Christensen's, man.
I know, it's trouble. I'll call your name up, and then we'll have you come up and stand up here, and then we'll have you tell us your favorite thing about scouts. We'll have you shake their hands as you come up and line up for that. Okay, let's start with Blaine Christensen. No, you don't have to say anything now. I'm going to hand you this.
We'll have you make a line
Shake
first.
my hand,
So you have time to
go
think.
around the circle. No, on this side of the table, you're not allowed back there.
Come back here if you want.
Yeah, sit him back here.
Stetson Lance.
Christensen, right? What? I'll give you Christensen.
Thank you.
Just wait right there.
Hey, right here.
Josh Weber.
Wait up, wait.
And Christensen's don't follow instructions. Thank you for coming, Josh. Caden Lydiard. Brandon Judd. He's even representing the recreation department today. Clayson Root.
Soccer, NBYU.
All right, Andy Knapp. That's right. Okay, thank you for coming out. It's a different experience to be able to see a city council and how it's ran and the things that are discussed. We'll just start here with Blaine and we'll go down the line. Just tell us what your favorite thing is about Scouts other than your leaders. Go ahead, Blaine.
My favorite thing about Scouts is you get to have fun with nature.
Go ahead. He's like, off to we can take a picture too.
My favorite thing about Scouts is being with my friends.
Okay. It's always good.
Okay, well, I guess my favorite thing is like a camp out and some activities and stuff.
Surviving the wild, huh?
I like being able to learn new things with friends. Nice. I like doing activities like going camping and getting merit badges and all that.
All right.
I like to spend time with my friends and just do things that I haven't done before, like coming here.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Okay, I guess we'll move on to number 9, final plat approval of phase 3, phases 1 through 3 of the villages at Arrowhead Park, a planned residential development located west of Arrowhead Trail at approximately 1500 north, consisting of 50 single-family dwelling lots. Okay, Jill.
Thank you for the introduction, Mayor.
You bet.
Anyway, I have a very short presentation. It's what's on the screen. And I know that is very unusual for me, but this is a very simple and straightforward request of the applicant. The applicant has been very diligent with taking care of all of the requirements of the development process and taking care of the conditions of approval that were preliminary plan approval that the City Council granted a few weeks ago. At that time, we didn't have some of the information necessary in order to finalize or to grant final approval. The applicant has since resolved those issues, and staff is comfortable with bringing this forward for approval of the final plat. So the applicant can move forward with the final conditions of approval that can't be done until approval is granted, and then getting this recorded and starting on some of the off-site improvements that they need to do in order to provide services to this development. So again, as the mayor had mentioned, we're looking at phases just 1 through 3. So this is a very large development that will happen over probably a couple of years, 2-3 years, depending on the market. But they are looking for final plat of the single-family phases, which is 50 single-family homes. Again, staff is supportive of this. The applicant has addressed the issues that were raised last meeting. We do have good representation of the development team here tonight. If you have any questions for them, they don't have a formal presentation. They're just looking for final plat approval.
Okay, any discussion?
So that's the 50 homes, the roads intertwined there. It does not include the roads across the marshland that were...
Not the initial phases, no.
No, and that's understandable. There's nothing on the other side. So,
yeah.
But
so just these phases here, it will not cross. I mean, they will have a stub road to the wetland area, but they will not be crossing with phases 1 through 3. And then phase 4 will come to you at your next meeting. So you will be looking at a redesign of this area here at your next meeting.
And there are sidewalks on both sides for Doug's benefit. I think we're good to go.
There are sidewalks on both sides of the road, with the exception of that narrower crossing over the wetlands.
Yes, that was my issue, but we settled it.
Yes.
I have a question. When are you going to start digging?
As soon as we can.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, we'd love to.
And another thing, do you have certain builders coming in, or are these open for all builders?
These the subdivision lots are open to all builders. In fact, we're talking to 3 smaller builders.
Okay. I'll spread the word. So.
Yeah, please do.
I'm interested. That guy right there is looking for a home.
Yeah.
Okay, I can speak for I think for the council, we're very excited for this development. So unless there's other discussion, we
Don't
ready
forget
for
the welcome to Payson sign.
Oh yeah, remember that. You agreed to build it. Okay, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the final plats for villages at Arrowhead Park.
That's one
Phases 1 through 3.
Okay. It's been, the motion's been made and it's been seconded. Calls for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. A little disjointed, but I think it carried. It's unanimous, right?
We're pretty excited, I guess is what that means.
Okay.
Well, they started out of order. They went
Just jump in there anytime. Did it carry? Everybody did get a vote? Okay, motion carries. Okay, we'll go to number 10, transferring professional way to Payson City.
Mayor and Council, there have been discussions with previous councils, and I don't know if you guys have discussed it, but every year it seems like we have requests from the hospital to help with that road of patching and potholes, and there's discussion about having, that road is a private road, although we do have some public utilities underneath that. And in talking to Kent, I think this has been an issue since Rod Watkins was the manager, so I don't know how many years, that's probably before I was born. No, I don't know. But so Kevin Johnson went up the ladder through his corporate, and they did have, they would quitclaim deed that over to the city if we would take that over. It's not up to our current standards, it's 6 feet short of our current standards, but as we discussed, the other roads that aren't up to standards that were built early on, we don't go back and redo those and open them. So I thought from the previous council I had some marching orders to go through this, but when I went through the minutes there was no motion to accept that, so I thought I'd put it on the agenda. We have a new council, so if the council's okay with having them deed that over to us, then it'll be a public road. We can use Class C road funds to help keep it up. If not, we'll just go back to helping where we can. And
You say it's currently 6 feet narrower than
our current
standard, but there's also no building on the left side of it, on the west side of it.
There is not.
East side. Which side of the road is
On the east side, and they own that.
Depends which way I'm driving. So when they do come in and develop that, can we have them put that additional 6 feet
We could, but
back
it already
in?
has curb, gutter, and sidewalk. I don't know if we tear it out for 6 feet.
No, okay.
And so
I just know that's kind of narrow. It just feels like it's a little bit of a, but maybe it's because it's not a smooth road. But
I know Travis indicated we may want to replace some of the lines underneath before that. That would be our cost because there are public utilities. But I'm just leaving it up to you. I'm not going to fall over my sword. If you guys don't want the road, we'll just keep working with it.
I think we should.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right.
There's no other way into the, oh, there we go.
There's no other way into the care facility, is there, other than off that road?
Yes, there is.
Is there?
On yeah, on 100 South, there's the entrance. The road off that goes into the hospital road is a secondary access, correct? So the road that goes
Even
by,
like the
is
EMT?
the road that goes by, is it Mangelson's, that road, what is it, is it?
Yeah, is
it
there a
100
road?
South?
100 South, and there's two accesses off of 100 South, and there's one off of the road there for the hospital. 3 accesses into the care
Oh,
center.
I always take the one right off the, yeah,
Because it's the easiest probably.
okay.
I guess the way I look at this is a couple things. One is it's been a problem road for a long time, but it's used by the general public. Everybody uses it. It's not just not limited to people from the hospital. And yeah, I know we have some infrastructure problems in that, and I want to be a good neighbor with the hospital. That's been something very important to Payson. And we get a lot more competition from surrounding areas, and so I think this is important. I'd want to do that.
For my part, I agree with what Councilman Hewlett said, you know, be good neighbors with them, and the fact that it was built at a different time with different standards were maybe applicable, I think we could take it just as it is and improve it as we need to, as far as maintenance is concerned, stuff like that.
I think it needs to be serviced sooner rather than later because it is a rough road, but what utilities are under it that might be aging and need to be replaced?
Well, with all the growth we're getting out in that area, I think we need to replace both water lines, both the PI and the culinary. The PI is only a 4-inch line, so to help service that area better, it'd be good to upsize that. And you know, I don't know what the condition of the culinary, but it's probably 30 years old. So
Is there a sewer line running through there as well, or?
We'd have to check on the condition of that. But I just think it'd be better to do all of it than not, you know, then to go pave it, and then we have to dig it back up.
You're preaching to the choir on that one.
So I think we ought to do it, and then just budget, you know, figure out a cost, and then budget for that and go get it done.
I know in talking to Kent, he was just gonna, like we did on 4th South and 3rd South, he was just gonna mill it and repave it. But if there's some issues like that, we'd have to see what kind of budget we can come up with.
Yeah, I think we just look at both, doing the infrastructure, or see how much it'll just cost to mill and repave it, and see if we can get another 5 years out of it. So I think we ought to look at both directions.
Do you think it will cost? I mean, every road needs to be redone.
I don't want to table the infrastructure for too long either.
I mean,
No,
I
I
just
think-
remember a couple years ago we did like 2 blocks and it was like $1.5 million. But maybe that was because we did the whole 9 yards, and this is probably going to be pennies. I don't know.
I can't remember what it cost him to do 4th South, but he has it. He was gonna, when he was milling that, he was gonna do the hospital at the same time, but I thought we better come and get the council approval, so I didn't have him do that. So I think.
Well, I know we just put 29 new building lots that would access through that road. They're out there on that.
They probably will.
Some of them will
I
access
think the
that.
majority of it will come in off that road, just
I don't know,
based
but
on when I've gone out there.
You're going to have increased traffic.
So, yeah, I don't want to, let's look at it and move forward with it, and if it needs a Band-Aid for a while, because it's in bad shape. But I really don't want Band-Aid.
Yeah, which is essentially what we're doing.
Is what?
I think we need it.
So the only thing we're really talking about right now is just whether we accept the road or not, and then those other things can be handled by staff, right?
Right.
Okay.
So
Unless we need money, then we'll come back to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Which you will.
Yeah.
So do we need a motion for this?
We do. There's a resolution, if you're willing to accept that, and then we can move
I
forward.
have a copy of the resolution.
Did I not? Oh, I didn't put a resolution in there. Yes.
Does that be a resolution?
We can wing it. You want me to wing it?
You have to have a resolution in writing.
So then I would, we don't have one?
I guess not. I would still make a motion to approve it.
Does it have to be, doesn't there have to be a motion for the public to see? Like the resolution?
You can't
No,
adopt a resolution if it's not in writing.
No, it's on the agenda.
So do we just, we need to make a motion to transfer the professional way to Payson City?
We'll bring a resolution next time, but I still would like a motion that you're going to accept that.
I'll make a motion that we accept the transfer of the professional way to Payson City with a resolution coming in 2 weeks that we approve.
I'll second that.
Okay. Been moved and seconded. It calls for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, number 11, resolution interlocal agreement with Elk Ridge City regarding water connections.
These next two agreements, interlocal, are based on the joint meeting we had with Elk Ridge City. The water connections allow us to, is that the first one? Sorry, they're getting the glasses on. The water one.
Thanks, guys.
This will allow us to connect, I think, up to 20 culinary water connections through the Elk Ridge water system that will be Payson City residents. So I know there's some interest going up around by the clubhouse, the road on the right side, which is Payson City property. There's some other properties up there that are Payson that we could approve some buildings and not have to get our infrastructure up there. We can use their water and to pass through the sewer to get to our trunk line. And so Elk Ridge, I believe they're okay with both these agreements. I met with their mayor on the draft, and there were some changes. For instance, on the water, it talked about that we would follow Payson City residents will comply with Elk Ridge's development standards with regards to dark sky lighting, fire hydrant requirements, and other infrastructure requirements, so that it's consistent with their developments. And then that we would also provide snow removal and solid waste removal. I thought it would be easy to have an agreement with them because they're already up there. They would snow plow, but the mayor was a little hesitant, so I said we'll take care of our own. And then he felt bad about that, but that's what we left it that way. I think between the two public works, if we can work something out, we can make sure it gets done. So that's unless you have questions, that's the water one.
I have a question on the water.
Uh-huh.
So one time we talked about so many hookups, but this doesn't have any limitations, just how much land is available that can be hooked up, right?
No, it has 20.
Oh, I didn't see
It's
that.
under section 3.
Okay.
Section 3.2, Elk Ridge shall allow Payson up to 20 culinary water connections through the Elk Ridge water system pursuant to the following requirements. I had bumped that up to 30 just to be safe, but they said no in the meeting. We talked about 20, so I moved it back to 20. I did take out some of the temporary because initially we were doing it temporary, but since they came back and said, well, if you'll help us with some of that development on 1600 in our growth boundary, I took that temporary out. And they questioned that, but I said, why would our city council want to give away some of our property to develop, yet we're only doing this for about 3 or 4 year period, and then we have to get our own infrastructure up there. And so I think they were okay with, if we have 20 Payson homes up there, connections, that'll be permanent. So we don't have to get our own utilities up there.
When you say we're helping them, are we helping them just by letting them have that land, or are we doing other work for them?
No, we're letting them have that land that's in our boundary.
Just want to make sure there wasn't.
But that was my point to the mayors. We're giving that land permanently.
Right.
We're not going to say in 5 years that's going to be ours again. So I thought it ought to be the same with the water. Instead of having to get our lines up there and disconnect them in the next 5 years. So, and I think he was okay with that. So unless you have any other questions, that's the water interlocal. And I think there is a resolution in that one.
Any further discussion? Okay, I guess we're ready for a motion.
There's no number on it, just the date. The motion, we pass resolution 6618, a resolution authorizing the execution and participation in an interlocal agreement for joint and cooperative action with Elk Ridge regarding culinary water connections and wastewater services.
I'll second it.
Okay, there's a motion that's been seconded. Calls for a roll call, starting with Councilman Weldon.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, moving on to number 12. Resolution interlocal agreement with Elk Ridge City regarding municipal boundaries. Again, Dave.
Okay, this is an interlocal agreement that we currently have, establishing our annexation boundary between the two cities. With the discussion at our joint meeting, they are wanting to develop portion of 1600 South on the west side. As you know, we talked about they want to put an assisted living down there. They want to have some other development. Mr. Haskell's property, they want to do some development sooner than we can get the infrastructure there. So that was the description. I added those parcel descriptions that we would add. I did say that each city will take affirmative action to amend its annexation policy plan declaration to reflect the above changes. We'll have to do that, go through public hearing, but we would scale our policy plan back, and they would increase theirs to cover that. And there is a map that shows the boundaries that we're moving over for Elkridge to develop there. I did clean up the language on Forbay. Initially, they gave me a little flack on that, but I think they're okay with that. In fact, the mayor indicated, we had quite a discussion on that, and the mayor indicated, you know, if Elkridge City really wants Payson to preserve Forbay, we probably ought to step up and help out. And so he was going to talk to his council. I said we shouldn't clutter it up with this agreement. We maybe have another agreement that deals with Forbay, because he was talking about maybe having an annual payment from Elkridge City to Payson to help pay the bond payment. And I threw out like $100,000 a year, and I don't know if they would go that, but that would be helpful. Especially if they're pushing us to help preserve that, they could help pay for it, have some skin in the game. The mayor was he thought they ought to have some skin in the game, so he was going to approach his council, but I took it out, I took the language out of this agreement, and if we can come to some agreement with them, we'll do a separate agreement to help us with Forbay.
Could we see the map? I didn't see.
Oh, yeah, and I attached it late because I thought it was in there, and I had a citizen that looked at the thing saying, where's the map for that, but
And Payson gets to provide the power, right? Oh, too soon?
This is a wedge piece of property right here. This is currently Elkridge city boundaries, so it's not really peninsula. So that's where it gets a little confusing. Was I correct with that, Dave? That little peninsula, little tag that sticks out, it actually was adjacent to existing property. It was Elkridge City. Those houses are all,
yeah, that's all one parcel, so they didn't want to split the parcel in half.
but the houses right below it are also part of
already in
it,
Elkridge.
so it doesn't create a
that little
peninsula.
thing is Bernal Gosser subdivision back in the 70s. That's in Elkridge. So
This is on the west side of the road, right, of 1600, right?
Yes. Yep.
It's up after it actually veers off now, right? The main road doesn't go in front of it anymore.
No.
You're not gonna fight with me. I'm gonna confiscate mine and take it back.
Don't get me.
I'm not. I just keep even.
He left a toy down there. I'm going to play with it. Anyway, do you have any other questions on anything that's in there? I'm not sure when Elkridge is putting this on their agenda. I told them that this is when we were doing it, and they said we don't want to hold you guys up, but I haven't heard back when they're putting it on.
So is this contingent upon them also agreeing?
It would be, because they have to approve it and sign it.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready for a motion? Okay.
Still getting the heartburn.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 606, 2018, whatever numbers after that. Resolution authorizing the execution and participation in an amended interlocal agreement for joint and cooperative action with Elkridge City regarding the Payson Elkridge annexation and development boundary, and is subject to Elkridge also passing this and signing it.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been, motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, starting with Councilman Christensen.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Do we still need to go into redevelopment agency, or did we take care of?
No, we do need to go into RDA so we can adopt that budget.
Okay, I'll entertain a Motion to go adjourn to a redevelopment agency meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Computers hate me. I'm sorry, the mouse won't even work. I swear.
Stop throwing it.
Really not much in this.
No, the RDA, it's just the Walgreens payment.
Walgreens, yeah.
Yeah, so $14,000 is what we budget every year. We pay about 12,000, so that's all it is.
Okay.
Is it working for you? Anyway, so you can approve the budget. That one, it's not affected by the truth in taxation.
Okay. A motion?
That's it.
I'll make a motion that we approve the budget for the RDA for 2018, 2019 fiscal year.
I'll second that.
Okay. I have a motion and it's been seconded. Roll call vote, starting with Councilman. Oh, Director.
Being director sometimes.
Okay, Director Welton.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, a motion to adjourn from redevelopment agency.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We no longer need that closed session, do we? We already taken care of that, right?
We're good. We can adjourn.
Okay, so adjourn. Motion to adjourn, yes.
So moved.
Seconded? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Whoop.
That was one, he's two.
Aye.
Aye.
Don't take muscle after I'm done tonight.